attention for a moment. We're going to begin the artist talk portion of the evening right now. Welcome to the 567 Center and a Happy New Year to everybody. It's really wonderful to have you all here tonight, especially to bring in the new year together and to bring it in with such a unique and new exhibit for Middle Georgia. So this exhibit is called The Veil, and this is an exhibit by Jay Fox. Jay and I have been working on this exhibit now together almost accidentally, but when Jay moved into town about 2 years ago with his lovely family, we got to know each other quickly through the art scene, and I got to check out some of his landscape photography, and the compositions were incredible, the sense of eye was beautiful, and so he really pushed me. And when he showed me the beginning of what he was working on here with this mask series, with the Veil series itself, it really took me aback. And I asked him, what are you doing with this? Where are you taking this? Why are you doing this? And that is the reason for tonight's artist talk. I won't take that limelight away from him, but it was then a year and a half of Jay working through his own life and his own emotions through this work. Taking the love and support of his family, Brittany and Logan. We're really glad to have you here tonight. This is kind of a culmination of a time in Jay's life, and being that it is the veil, the veil is here to conceal and to hide, but the veil is impermanent. It is cloth-like. It is a disguise. And so as you will see in all of this work, these masks are veils. There is a veil not just within the work itself, but the veil is here and an idea to talk about the artist's mentality, the artist's reality versus the artist's imagination, and how those two have to meet at some point. So, without further ado, it is my honor and my pleasure to introduce Jay Fox. Thank you so much.
So a lot of you actually here know me by Josh. My name is Josh. I go by Jay. And this whole series, it came about because between the ages of 5 and 16, I was being molested. I was put into prostitution and I was trafficked. And a lot of it I had just forgotten about, and it just kind of faded away for some time. I hit a rock bottom. It was disastrous, about tore my family apart. And when I really got to digging and working on myself, the memories started to come back. And it was like I started to work on my spirituality. I got baptized. And it was really shortly after that that it just hit me. One set of memories led to another, and the masks themselves are different personalities that I've had to deal with within myself while remembering and just kind of working through and processing the things that had happened. I had a question already, and I'll just jump right into it. I used women throughout this entire thing, so they're all masked and therefore a veil, but I explained to each model that they are my veil because no one listened to me until I took a picture of someone and they asked about it, and it was of a female. So to answer your question, I used all females because sadly, men's health is slept on, and my life is a big part of that slept on, that whole topic. So all of them have agreed to be my veil and tell the story through the work that I presented. And each photo shoot, I explain that, and after explaining it, I have them work through the same things that I would be working through. I would tell them what's going on, then they would explain some of the things that they had dealt with growing up or just in their life. And it turned into this massive therapeutic and cathartic thing that each traumatic memory turned into this really beautiful moment. And there's another layer to it being the veil, is that each one of these now, because I have PTSD, anxiety, and depression, and mania, and a bunch of other stuff with it. And so when I have triggers, I can't really control those triggers. I'm just in it. And I take a second to take a step back, and after giving myself time to allow the trigger to happen, I set a shoot up and I work with this person and I explain to them the things that are going on. And one of the saddest things that I ran into with this is that 2 models throughout the entire shoot expressed that they had not been sexually abused. 2 to 3 others were not disclosed, but everybody else had some type of experience about the same. And because I'm using women who are not just dealing with that, but using women, I wanted it to be that I was exonerating women's strength, because a lot of their strengths and the things that they got through and how they got through, those are the things that we talked about, and those are the things that kept building me up. So each moment that I got to work with these people, they taught me something, and I became their student, and they really expressed their ways of getting through things, and I would take a little bit here and there, a little bit more every time, until it got to the point to where now whenever I have a trigger, or if I look at this photo, I remember the thing that triggered it, but I also remember the struggle that she was going through, and I remember the love that she was shown and the things that helped her out of it. And so now when I'm hitting a trigger, I can think about the love that someone has or the struggle that somebody else has. The landscapes tie in because throughout all of this massive mirror, there are these lovely moments that I needed peace, and my wife would suggest some peace. A lot of these are in Montana, and I have some friends out there who really showed me a lot of love to help me through. And whenever I first started remembering, if it wasn't for the people who had shown me love, I would just be stuck. I couldn't imagine. So, this one is my stepfather. When I was out in Montana, I got a call that he was going to pass away and that I wasn't going to make it home for just another conversation with him. This one is a group of friends that have always been right there for me, right smack in the middle of everything, working through everything with me, no matter what the trouble was, and the great change that they inflicted on me. And this one is the first time I was able to take my family out to Montana to show them also a level of love. My son has a shot in his room, and my wife has a shot, and that one's sitting above the couch. But now when I look at these works, they're not, as much as they're mirrors, I can't help but see how much love everybody, and even now, like I look at you, and you don't know me. You don't know me much at all. And you're here showing me love, showing me appreciation, and really just here as a support. And that's what this has been. I don't want to ramble on about it. I think that if anybody has questions, that probably would be the best way to go about it, because I don't know what else to say it. So I really appreciate you all being here, and if it wasn't for the love and support of people like you, I would not be here.
I would like to say we will move into the Q&A portion of this. I did want to take one quick second to introduce Amanda Juarez here. She's with Reliant Middle Georgia. Resilient Middle Georgia. It is a mental health advocacy group here in Georgia. There are a number of other resources available to people here, including places like River's Edge. So in talking about some of these subject matters, we wanted to make sure that you knew that there are always resources available, because it takes a lot to turn heartache into creativity, and sometimes you need a help and a push and a voice to listen to on the other side. So thank you so much for being here. If anybody has any questions, please see her afterwards. Do we have any questions for Jay specifically on any of the art that's in the exhibit?
Or anything. It doesn't, nothing's uncovered.
I have another question.
Okay.
So for each of these like masks, and I know you said that the other artists collaborated with you in your portraits. Did they make the mask like specifically for the vision of the portrait, or did you see the mask and you were like, this is for my portrait?
So this is the first one that I got. He had this mask. The person who makes them, his name is Andres Shaper. He is in the Netherlands. He had this one on display, and I appreciated how beautifully burnt it looked, and just kind of resonated with me. He also had this one on display, and I used this with a monarch thought and feeling. But I believe there was only one more. There's a blue one, the blue. That one was the only other one that he had prior to me asking. After that, I kind of worked with him on designs. I'm sure him and his wife thought I was crazy because the things that I was asking him, the two especially that are green, the request was that they were sisters, but they weren't supposed to be, they were supposed to be like twins, but not. And I don't know how else to explain that to somebody on the other side of the world with a language barrier. But we were able to come together, and I showed him some pictures, and we talked through it, and it ended up being what we worked out. But the rest of them were ideas that I had that I wanted him to have a freedom with, so that he could give me his input. I didn't want a lot of control because there's no such thing.
I'm sorry, I'm a curious person. Okay, so when I was looking around the exhibit, I noticed that your landscape photos versus your portraits are edited very differently in the way that your landscapes are very like crisp and very realistic, or like more than realistic, HD realism, and then your portraits are almost like dreamscape. So I was wondering like what made you edit them differently? Like is that like your portrait having to do with like trauma and maybe like the landscapes being like relief from that?
Yes, that's exactly it. The editing behind it though, I like crisp landscapes. I was really big into Bob Ross and then Ansel Adams. That was a big inspiration for everything. And Ansel Adams' work was always crisp, and you know, I'm not lugging around a big film camera up a mountain, but I still wanted it to feel like you could be there and experience it. So I know that they feel maybe HD, but to me, that's what it felt like. This mountain feels like you can throw up if you stand on top of it, and I think that this picture doesn't do anything for it. With the portraits, I didn't want it to be so corrected, because a lot of the moments that were with everybody were very pure, they were very realistic, and so none of them were photoshopped. I did color grading, I did a little bit of, you know, background touch-ups and things, but I really did not want to take away from what the moment was. So if I took a blurry picture, it stayed a blurry picture, because in that moment, that's what it was, and that's one of the things that draws me to photography.
What would you tell somebody who is looking to start their journey into art and figuring out how to be expressive? What advice would you give them?
Don't listen to anybody else. If there's a thing that I had to overcome myself, it was more, there's so many opinions and there's so many politically correct things. There's also, you know, rudiments, books, none of that stuff matters. The first shots that I took were trash, but I loved them, and they built me. And I had to really put away the things that everybody else was saying did and didn't work, and I did what worked for me. And it took me a long time to figure that out. It took me about 5 to 10 years before I figured out nobody else matters if I'm taking a shot. Yeah.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I just love asking questions. I love getting answers. Okay, so when I was, again, looking at your exhibit, I've noticed that a lot of the photos either had like double the same costume in it, or it was like a one-off costume. So I was wondering about how you like decided on the costume design, but mostly I want to know about the wedding dress, because it just seems like very 80s. So I was wondering like what that was about.
The wedding dress. the wedding dress is actually her wedding dress, not the representation. This is something, it's the unlikely bride is what this one is. It's a very between me and my wife moment, and just the fact that she has worked with me and accepted me through all of this. But this person, her name is Sage, she got married on top of that mountain, and I climbed it with them. And we climbed that mountain with that dress in a backpack, and it's 5,000 feet of just elevation, and it's 4.5 miles in, 4.5 out. And so we drug it up there, and when she had already known the things that I was dealing with, and I asked her about being a part of it, and I didn't quite have this understanding whenever I wanted to shoot with her. She actually suggested the wedding dress, and she had a second one that didn't make the cut. This is the one that spoke to her because that was the one that she got married in. And I thought that it was very appropriate because it represents something with my wife. I feel like y'all are scared.
Of the selection here, how many were there that did make the cut, and why did you choose the ones that are here today rather than those for display?
Wow. So whenever I first started shooting, I think the one at the far corner, they're 11 by 14, they're ambience. I probably only took 20 pictures that night. And it was like that for a long time because I started to learn on film, and I was very intentional because of that. And I had to break that in order to shoot digital, especially for this series because it got, there's people flipping and spinning, and I had to back off and just push the button and let it go towards the end of it once it started to develop to that. But the ones that made the cut, I think, were because they spoke to what was happening. I wouldn't disclose the things that were expressed because they're definitely personal, but there are definite moments in between each of them that spoke to them as well. So each image itself was more of a collaboration. Acceptance right there, the red with the back bend, that's actually one of the most powerful ones to me because of the things that she had to accept through her life. At the same time, I was having to accept that this was my life. So a lot of them have a trope of that, and out of all of the models, only there's one photo shoot that I did that didn't make it, and it was because it wasn't a reciprocated moment, and I had to remove it because every time I looked at it, it reminded me of not having a choice.
Would you say you have like maybe a favorite male model you've ever shot before?
You're my favorite student. Thank you for breaking it up.
Do we have any other questions for Jay? No? All right, well, if not, thank you guys all so much.
I do want to say,
yes, please.
Sorry, I do want to say that if there's any takeaway from this, if there's somebody that you, even if you don't know that they're struggling, if they came to mind through this, please reach out and talk to them. I can't tell you how many I love yous got through the moment, or hugs, or male models. These random moments that I really wouldn't be here.
Or crying in the closet and talking to you on the phone.
Yeah.
The moments.
So a lot of you have been with me through some of the craziest things, and even when I say them out loud, it's still hard to believe that any of it was real. And just really appreciate you all, but please talk to the people around you that you love, because you really don't know how much of an I love you or a hug would help.
Everyone, let's give it up for Jay Fox. Thank you.
They say there's no such thing as coincidence. Billion people tell me, baby, what are the chances that we connected? thoughts have quick wings, gaining momentum fast. One minute I am fine, the next I've lost my mind to a fake fantasy. None of these thoughts are real, so why is it that I feel so caught up and so bad? I need to take control.